Welcome back to Mystic Like My Mama, a podcast presented by Ask Penjie. I'm Isabella, and this is my mama, Tina. We are a mother-daughter duo and the co-founders of Ask Penjie. In this show, we'll talk about accessing your intuition and how we integrate ancient wisdom into our modern lives.
Hello.
Welcome back to episode 3.
Episode 3. Wow. Amazing.
We're on a roll.
How has it been a week already?
I know. Time is flying.
I know. We had so many good conversations this week, but I kind of wanted to share if it's okay with you.
Yes.
Something that we do the card reading for everybody on the podcast episode. But we also do card readings for ourselves for many
Of
different
course.
reasons. Yes, if we are looking for answers or we are looking for information, if we are just prana boosting and wanting to connect, something like that. But you were feeling a little bit down, kind of like a little bit sad, a little bit low, and I offered you, I said, hey, do you want to pull a card and let's see if there's like a nice little message for you. And I kind of wanted to share the card that we pulled because I thought it was really special and pertains to our podcast. So it was from, I have a lot of decks. This deck is called the Rose Oracle, and it's by Rebecca Campbell. Dare I mention, she is a podcast guest on my previous podcast,
Yes.
the Pranabu Show.
Love that.
And it's a really good interview, actually. So I have all of her books and we have a lot of her oracle cards.
Your decks are so pretty.
They're so pretty. Oh my God. Like the whole entire packaging, everything is so pretty. The cards are pretty. And so I just kind of wanted to share because we chose such a beautiful card, a beautiful message, and I thought it was very relevant and it might resonate with our audience. So this is kind of the back of the card. It's very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And the
It was
card
so
that
on
we
theme. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
Yeah, and that's when I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I share?" Because I thought it was really great. So, this card was in particular called Healing the Mother Line, Healing Ancestral Work, Mother Line, and Growing Up. So we know, and we're going to talk about it even more, but we are doing this podcast, and the whole purpose of many of our conversations is sort of the shifting and the changing of times. Obviously, it's very different now than when, my mom was little, when her mom was young. And I know for my grandma, like her mom passed away when she was very young. I believe she was 14. And just kind of I have like so many quotes for this episode. I have another one that just popped in, but I've always shared with you that every woman who heals herself heals everyone that came before her and every woman that comes after her. And so, as a mom or mama to two daughters, I've always felt that that was very important to kind of heal the mother line and go back. Generational trauma, ancestral healing that needs to happen. So, this card matched perfectly. Let me read it. It says, Healing the Mother Line. We're living in a time of complex healing, especially when it comes to the mother line. Collectively, we're facing the intergenerational trauma that colonialism and patriarchy have imprinted on us. So many born to mothers who were not mothered themselves. It's time to mend the chain. So many of our ancestral lines have experienced brutal persecution and separation from the sacred feminine. We've been starved of the great mother's unwavering embrace and instead told to look only to a male god in the sky. So many were not taught to see the sacred in all things and the feminine in all her stages as sacred, powerful, and holy. This way of living has gone on for way too long, and we're all being called to heal it on behalf of our ancestors, past and emerging. So that's everything that we're doing. That's everything that we have done, right? Like in our
Yeah.
family and in our
Yeah.
relationship, it's been very important to kind of be mindful of how we are living forward for generations to come. Healing is possible. It may not be straightforward or easy, but it's possible. It can be felt forward and back. Your ancestors, past and future, are singing with you. It's time to release our mothers all the way back for what they may not have been able to give, to find a way to cultivate the loving mother within, to treat ourselves with the same deep reverence, adoration, understanding, and compassion that we longed for all along. You can be that for yourself today. You can meet yourself where others could not. And as you do, future ancestors will bless you for finding the courage to release and heal deep. It says Rose Transmission. I reach all the way back to the original mother and I set all the mothers and myself free.
That's so beautiful. And that's the whole theme of our show is, how I've learned from you and how your changes in your life have impacted me and my sister and our life and our story. I love that. So it was so perfect that you pulled that. That was your card. I pulled a different card, but that was your card pull and I
Yeah,
was like,
that was actually my card that
that
I
was your
pulled.
card pull and I was
Yeah.
like, that is literally it. That's perfect.
Yeah, yours was about blooming. It was about your
Yes.
next opportunity and your next evolution of yourself. And
Change is
you were
coming.
so happy. And just so we could share with everyone, it really helped you to choose a card.
It
Like you felt
did. It did.
better.
It did.
You felt
I have
better.
been having the same similar, this is very common if you guys are into energy work or cards. You'll notice a lot of times, even if you're pulling different readings or doing different cards, if you're in the same place in life or you're still working through something, you will have the same message come through in all different places, from psychics, from cards, from your TikTok for your page. Like you'll be getting the same information or messages until you work through it. So no matter where I looked, I was getting the same message. And I was so excited because this week when we did our card pull, I finally got a different message. And I was like, yes,
Which is
made it
amazing because
through. Level
yeah,
up.
because you've been really shifting and growing and changing. And I want to just acknowledge that when we talk about this and we talk about the changes, um, the evolution of us and our consciousness, right? Like it's not about going back and finding fault or saying what people did wrong. It's more like acknowledge it would almost like be saying like my old iPhone was wrong and now I have the iPhone,
It's like
15
it
or
was it was right at the time.
well, it's not even right or wrong. It's just every generation, hopefully, we are improving. And
Yeah.
my mom and back down on the line, like we didn't have access to the amounts of information. We didn't have access to the same consciousness or changes or shifts. Like women didn't have the same rights. Like just everything is evolving and changing and growing. And hopefully with awareness and, a higher consciousness, that's what we're trying to share on this podcast. We are continuously evolving. And I'm
Yeah.
like a quote a minute. I'm going to say,
Yeah.
when you know better, you do better.
Mhm.
Um, and, just because that's what we should be doing, growing and learning. So we're sharing some of that journey with everybody.
I
So,
love it.
sorry, you go.
No, you go.
Well, I was just going to say, should we do a card for
Yes.
the collective, for the group?
Perfect. With that, we'll go into our card pull of the week for you guys.
Okay.
So,
So we are using our Yummy Licious Cosmic Guidance from Annie
beautiful,
from
beautiful. Our
Dreamy.
Dreamy Moons deck.
Yes, we're using our Dreamy Moons deck. So let's everybody focus on I love the beginning. I mean, not the beginning, the front of hold on a second. I don't know what I'm saying. That was you know how sometimes they have messages inside? I
Uh-huh.
thought it had a message inside the deck, but it was actually a card.
Ooh.
It was actually a card flipped the back of the card, but I got confused because sometimes the inside of the deck has it. And I just want to read this to everybody. It says, I open myself to guidance from the universe.
I know, I love that. And that's just the back of every card.
I know. I got confused.
That
Sorry.
is so perfect.
I have so many decks, so okay, so I love this deck. So remember, once we use a deck, we want to infuse it with our energy. So I'm knocking 3 times on it. One, two,
Setting an
three.
intention.
Setting an intention. I want everybody who's listening to think about a situation, think about a relationship, think about a decision that you have to make, think about something you've been struggling with or hoping for, or just kind of focusing your energy on, or maybe you just need to receive um, a message. And we'll choose a card and see which one is our card today. Okay, let's see. Are you ready for the reveal? Okay. So
Ooh.
our card for today I can't remember actually what cards that we usually choose like from week to week. So you'll have to remind me. This one is called the Star.
Ooh, we have not got that one yet.
Isn't that pretty?
That is pretty.
It's
That's
called
beautiful.
Blessings, Inspiration, Time to Shine. So let's read the message behind that actually and see what that message is. Okay, the Star. Oh, you won't believe it. It has a Rumi quote, and I'm gonna say I have a Rumi quote for later on in the show. But what are the chances
Oh,
of that?
that's meant to be.
It says the universe and the light of the stars come through me. And that's by the poet Rumi. And I have a quote later in the show by Rumi. It says,
Stay tuned for the part two Rumi quote.
stay tuned. Oh, you guys, it says, this is the card of good luck, abundance, and hope. The universe wants you to know that blessings and inspiration are coming your way. Bright times are ahead. It is about time you accepted all the beautiful gifts the universe is presenting you with. All you have to do is allow yourself to receive, and all the good things in the world are yours to keep. This card is also a reminder to shine bright like a star. Do not dim your light for the sake of others. Do not dim your light in order to fit in or to make others feel okay or not with not being as bright. Embrace your light and your blessings. Those who cannot accept your light cannot accept their own. They are on their own journey. So it says, imagine light radiating from you like a star, making the entire universe brighter. And the affirmation is, I am radiating endless love and light. I am ready to receive blessings, inspiration, and abundance.
I
Yay.
love it. In the wise words of Rihanna, shine bright like a diamond.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Careful,
Okay.
careful. You have to be careful. Monetization. They come in.
Oh,
They
you mean
come
if
in
I sing?
quickly.
Oh, no one's going to even realize that I was actually singing. No one's going to realize. Okay.
Ah,
Anyway, okay, let's move on. I'll clean this up while you do it. What's
okay.
next?
That was such a good card. Wow, that was such a good card. The
Yeah.
card we pulled this week was good. The card we pulled just now was good. The card we pulled last week was good. I'm feeling really connected to the cards lately.
Yes, I love them.
Um,
We've been doing those since you were little.
I
Like that's
know,
so fun.
forever, forever. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. It's one of our many mediums and tools, just like the Penji.
Yes.
Um, so with all of
Oh, by the way, just so you said that, actually, I would like to remind everybody, um, I actually use Penji
that,
sometimes to decide which deck that I pull from. So like
yes, you do. You
I'll put it over
do.
the deck and I'll say, is my message in this deck? You know, should I pull, would it be in my highest benefit to pull a message from this deck,
Mhm.
right? And then I use Penji over it. So just another example of how we use Penji
That's a
all the time.
that's a great way to use Penji because we have some decks that are like super long descriptions, some that are just like mantras, and you don't really know sometimes which one. It's hard to
Where your
pick,
message is.
know which one to use. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
What would be the most useful?
that is a good use for Penji.
Hmm.
So our theme for today, our topic, is why you should be asking questions. And it goes hand in hand with a quote that mom's told me since I was little, and she's always said, which is just because it is doesn't mean it should be. So, why you should be asking questions, and just because it is doesn't mean it should be. This is like a huge topic and a big thing in tune with our teachings with the pendulum and Penji, and the teachings just in general that I feel like we both move through so often. Mom is the queen of asking questions and being curious and researching and figuring everything out. So this is the absolute like there's we probably talked about this for 75 million years, but we'll start with just today's episode.
Okay. So thank you, Isabella. So yeah, so years and years ago, I think you were like, I don't know, like 4 years old or something. I don't know. And I saw this movie and I don't really remember the movie. Am I allowed to mention the movie? Is that okay?
Over.
It was a movie called Australia.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I don't really remember it or anything, but I just remember this quote. And I remember um constantly having it sort of in my head. And, like what you focus on expands. So what we repeat and then we're kind of in the energy of that. So I would always think to myself, people would always say, well, this is just the way you do it. And I would say, well, just because it is doesn't mean it should be. Like, has anyone ever thought of that? Has anyone ever asked a question? Has anyone ever questioned why we're all like doing something? And it just drove me nuts. I've always asked questions. I could remember going back to school, being in school, and having some teachers being very bothered and very annoyed that I would ask questions. And I kind of thought that's why we were there, like to learn. I could be wrong. But I know people would get upset, and I know a lot of people are often upset. And I have a note because I often like write notes. I have like 4,000 on my phone, you know that. Um, and just a little bit of my note kind of shares that I think that many people have become very offended by questions. Like it's almost like you're feeling judged or criticized. Like we take it personally. Like somebody's threatening our knowledge or our ego or something if they question us. And I learned, especially being, a major in communication, things like that, learning psychology, sociology, all the things that I've studied, it's very important to ask questions because it helps us lean into somebody's vision or learn where they're at or why they're saying what they're saying. And, I mean, years ago, kids were taught to be seen and not heard and be quiet and don't question your parents. And it's usually rude if you ask a question. So, like, I love that you guys would ask us questions. And there's a time and a place, right? Like, sometimes if we're in a hurry or like, I would say to daddy, like, please don't ask me why, like right now, like I'll explain later. But it's not that I don't want to ask the question, but again, there's a time and a place for questions and things like that. Sometimes you're in a hurry. But in general, I think that we need to learn to be able to speak up. We need to learn to become critical thinkers. Penjie has really completely changed our lives and given us the opportunity to tune into our intuition. And when you're feeling something, like somebody might just tell you to do something, like you can't eat breakfast for dinner. And you might say to yourself, well, why not? Like, are you serious? Like, and I wouldn't even mean it insulting if I would ask why. I would be like, is there something I don't know? Like, is it not good for my digestion? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, is there a health concern? Like, we just take everything at face value of what people say and we don't question it. And we are learning now that we have to question more and more and more. We have to question if something is real. We have to question if it's a scam. We have to, question what we're eating. We have to question our ingredients. It's time to wake up and have awareness. So becoming this critical thinker and someone who asks questions. Um, I would love for people to see it as people being curious, people wanting to learn, not questioning somebody's
I
what
have
did
a
I say?
question.
Pardon?
I
Yeah.
have a
Oh,
question.
you have a question. Okay, question.
Speaking of questions,
Yeah.
um, do you think there's a good way or a specific way to ask a question so that way it comes off not offensive? Because I agree, I think a lot of people nowadays, if
Well,
you just
yeah.
ask a question, they act like they're offended, even if you didn't necessarily have the intention of offending them. That might be some of their responsibility too and how they show up. Like it doesn't matter how nice you ask the question, that could be their own thing that they're dealing with. But do you think there's still a more good or better way to show up asking a question?
Well, always. And honestly, intention always matters. I mean, if you're trying to catch someone, or make them feel bad or make them feel wrong. So of course, your intention, every time you open your mouth, your intention matters. So it's like, if you say to somebody, well, why would you do that? Or that sounds weird. So if you insert a judgment before your question, right? Then you know what that feels like. You know what that sounds like, right? But
Yeah.
it's different if you would say, um, oh my God, now I can't think of a question, but I need an example question. But if you would say
Oh,
something like,
why are you wearing that lipstick?
yeah, if you just say like, I'm so curious, like, why are you wearing that? Or what lipstick are you wearing? Or, why did you choose that brand? And somebody who is used to getting offended, and that will bring us to another thing we can talk about another podcast, the four agreements. If somebody is used to being offended, they're going to be offended, right? They're going to be like, well, what do you mean? Why am I wearing this? They're going to
Yeah,
act
they'll probably be
offended.
like, their first thought's gonna be like, oh, why is she asking? Does it look
Yeah.
bad? Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly, exactly. But I might just mean like it's so pretty, like I don't know that brand. But so a
Mhm.
really nice way is sometimes to lean into it. You don't always have to compliment someone, but to say like, I'm so curious, what type of lipstick do you use? Like what brand? Like I've been really kind of researching brands lately and I've been learning about ingredients and I was just wondering
Yeah.
what do you use? Like it's all intention. Like how do you feel when someone asks you a question, Like the old saying like if somebody comes down and you're getting ready to go out and you'd be like, "Are you going to wear that?" Or
Uh,
you say or say like, "Aren't you going to go change?" And they're like, "Wait a minute, I did change."
or like I was ready.
Right. So we learn to be mindful about how we can be respectful, but I'm more asking questions about things that your intuition shout at you that feel off. right? So like there's two different kind of topics here we're talking about, but like not taking people's word for it, right? Like say somebody says, "Oh, you absolutely have to go to this, Mexican restaurant. It's the best restaurant in the world and like you can't go anywhere else or whatever." And then you might say to them, like, "Why? Like tell me why. Like, did you love the food? Did you love the service?" Like there's so many questions that could be said, right? But I hear okay, I'm going to insert my Rumi quote that I told you guys about before. And I talk about this on a blog that I wrote about not taking people's word for it, like not just reading reviews and stars and opinions and your neighbor and your friend and your mother and what everybody says. And the Rumi quote says, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth." And I want you to think about that for a second because what I'm actually referring to is when your intuition feels like their story, advice, opinion, rating, something doesn't feel right. You're like, because when it feels right, you're like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna go there. Like I
Yeah.
heard about that place already. But when your intuition is like, somebody saying, don't go to that place to eat. And your intuition is saying, I really wanted to try it. Like it looks really good to me. I've seen the food. Like make up your own story, right? Because again, we can bring up the law of attraction, which says like attracts like, and we are magnets. And so somebody else might go to a restaurant and have a really bad experience. They might have a really yucky interaction with the waiter. We can go the next day and have the same waiter and get along like lovely with that waiter and have a really good experience based on how we act, how we feel, how they act, how they feel, where the stars are in the sky. Like there's so many variables.
Hmm.
But what I'm trying to just sort of create here is I'm urging people that if you want to create an intuitive lifestyle and you want to, live a life that kind of comes from within and resonates with you, then you have to learn how to tune into your own inner wisdom. And you have to understand, especially like when you start using Penjie, right? Using Penjie is all about asking questions, and the quality of our answers is determined by the quality of our questions.
Yes, that's such a good line, and it's so true. And it goes for anything. Like even in a class, even with a teacher, even with anything, it's your answer's only as good as your question.
Absolutely. And I want you to remember this statement. I want you to remember questions are clarifiers.
Mm,
Questions can help us understand people better. They can help, most of the time we do a lot of assuming. And if you don't want to assume, that oh my God, it's so weird because it's so weird. I'm like having all these like flashbacks of all these quotes because there's another quote. It's actually by I'm gonna look it up actually while we're like live on the air. It's
hmm.
actually
Another thing that I was thinking of too
Mhm.
was this is something you always remind me of because I can get caught in my head and be like, I don't want to ask, or I don't want to ask another question, or I'm just good. I feel like I know everything. But maybe I'm unsure about something with another person or something, and you would be like, just ask the question, like you'll get more clarity. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, I don't know. And then I will, and I do, and I ask the question and I get the clarity, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh, that feels so much better.
I always say like, what's the worst that can happen if you ask another question? Like, what is somebody gonna say? Wait, oh, that's too many questions. Like, we're not friends anymore.
And the truth
Like,
is, I think most people barely ask questions. So if you do ask a couple,
we're afraid to speak up.
you're not
Yeah.
going off,
We're afraid to
the,
speak up because we've been often punished for asking questions. We've been, criticized or put down or things like that. And I
hmm.
think that also, again, it may seem like we don't trust the person. And it's not personal. It's just
Yeah.
we are trying to get more information, like be like little detectives.
Hmm.
I have another thing I always tell you since you're little, right? I say, just call. Like you're like, we're texting back and forth. And I'm like, Bella, pick up the phone, just call. One call can clear it all. Because you're like, I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if we should meet. I don't know where we should go. I don't know if they're tired. I'm like, just pick up the phone and call.
Hmm.
Right. And here's another quote. This whole entire like episode is going to be quotes, but there's a famous quote by George Bernard Shaw, which says, the single biggest problem is in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And I love that quote actually, because there's just so many misunderstandings. And many times we misinterpret things that we are like not just because we're afraid to let someone know that we don't understand what they're saying or right? And how many fights happen because of miscommunication or misunderstanding? That's a good song by Phil Collins.
That's the I mean
Misunderstanding.
that's the plot of every Hallmark movie you've ever watched is
Hey, don't give away
ha
all my
yeah,
secrets.
halfway through the movie there's some misunderstanding or something and then it's like that's when everything it's always the turning point.
There's a song that I love. It's by Genesis, actually. It's called Misunderstanding with Phil Collins. Okay. Anyway, just in case anybody wanted to look that up. Yeah, we have lots of misunderstandings. And I think we need to learn how to ask questions, especially, oh my God, you know what? I'm going to give you an example, actually. When my mom was in the hospital, I asked so many questions. I I'm going to tell you a secret. Your little mama. They called security on me at the hospital.
That was so funny. I mean, not funny in the
I
movie.
was so upset I
That was
cried.
so funny.
It was funny, actually, because it was ironic. Because it's like, wait a second, like you guys are upset that I'm asking questions. Every day I was asking
And
questions.
you were so nice about it. Like you could not have been more
Oh
respectful,
my God,
more gracious towards the doctors. Like if you tried, you couldn't have been.
I couldn't have been sweeter.
You brought them treats. Like you could not be nicer.
I was grateful. I was understanding. I would even preface a lot of my things like, is now a good time to ask a question? I'm not sure I understand what you said. Do you have time for a question? Like I was even polite about when I would ask a question. They were still offended. They were like, I've been doing this 30 years or, blah, blah, blah. Like, when did you go to school? And I'm like, I didn't. That's why I'm asking questions. Like, I'm asking you because I don't understand because maybe you went to school and I don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
oh my God, they were all offended. They were just like upset and offended. And yeah, so, but I don't want you guys to be afraid of a story like that. Like, I don't want you to not ask questions just because you think there's going to be some sort of repercussion. Because like, I would like you to understand that in a healthy relationship where communication is key and communication is your intention, and you are like, sharing a life or a relationship or something with someone, you have to be able to talk to them. You have to be able to clear up things that you don't understand. Sometimes I'm even asking daddy, I'm like, did you hear what I said? Like, could you repeat it back to me? Just because so we don't mess up. So we don't, because first of all, we are more distracted than we've ever been. Right? Would you agree? Half the time you talk to someone, like this is beautiful for us. Like we're not on our phone. We're having this lovely conversation. A lot of people are multitasking. They're on their phone, they're writing an email, they're texting someone while you're talking to them. And sometimes you just would need to confirm, like, hey, I know you were listening, but did you really hear me? Like, I
Yeah.
need you to pick, this person up at this time or, things like that. So it's like, I just think we have to constantly be working on our communication. And I want everyone to know that questions are not something meant to be harmful. And
Yeah.
also I would like people to know that there's a way to do it that is kind and that is respectful. Like you don't want to be, you don't need to be insulting or harming people or like it makes me think of Saturday Night Live with Marcel.
Yeah.
He's impersonating Sebastian Maniscalco.
Marcelo,
Yeah, Marcelo. Sorry. I said
I love him.
Marcel is like the monkey from like Friends, isn't he? I don't know why I said Marcel. Marcelo. So he's like, Sebastian is always saying, "Why would you do that? Like, why would you, and he always goes, "Why would
Mhm.
you do that?" or something. There's a way to ask a question that is not insulting to
So, how do you know when to ask questions and when is the time to push and when is the time to back down?
okay, that is honestly there's no good answer because that's all intuition. Like I don't
Hmm.
have an answer for that because it's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different. That is why learning about your intuition and leaning into it is so important. That is why we're doing our business. That is why we're doing Penjie. That is why we're having this podcast.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, the stronger you get at hearing your intuition, you will know. And again, it's like I told you when I was at the hospital, it's okay to ask somebody, is now an appropriate time for questions,
yeah.
Um, do you have time? Because I didn't truly understand what you wanted me to do, or I didn't truly understand what you meant when you said that, like, so it's really feeling your way through it. It's really like kind of knowing, but oh, okay, but actually more to answer your question of what you were saying. It's when something feels off, when something doesn't feel right, when something doesn't taste right, when something doesn't, like you call back the waiter and say, "Hey, I don't really know what's going on in this dish, but I said no cilantro and it sure tastes like there's cilantro." Like, so ask. Um,
For me, a way that I sometimes tell is it worth it? Like, is it worth my effort and
oh,
my time?
okay, that's a good.
Like, if we go, we keep referencing food places,
Give
but
me an example though.
we eat all the time, so it keeps coming up. But if I go out to eat and I try to order something, I'm trying to ask a question, or it's a place I'm trying to eat, or see if they'll be, accommodating for my allergies or
Hmm.
whatever, I will see if I can ask a question. But if I can again, because we're intuitive, if I can read the room and I can tell no one's paying attention, no one's listening, they don't have time, they're too busy, I can feel that no one there is going to listen to me. I'm I'm going to make the decision. Maybe someone else wouldn't, but me in that moment, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to waste my time asking them questions right now when I kind of can feel that they're not going to help me, and I'm just going to go to a different restaurant.
I love that. Did you just freeze?
I think so.
Oh, you look so cute. You're frozen
Mic
though.
drop.
I don't know if you should like turn on your video or turn off your video or something to like come
Um,
back.
uno momento. Technical difficulties. Kind of read the room, and I can feel that these people are not going to listen to me, which again is not always a good thing. Sometimes you should push through and ask the question anyways. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you might think like, oh, none of these people are going to help me, and then you ask a question, and people will surprise you, and someone might really help you. But sometimes that's how I decide is intuitively reading the room, and I'm like, is this a good time to ask a question? Do I feel comfortable? Do I need to? Or can I just go to a different restaurant or go,
It's a
get somewhere else?
it's a really good question. And yes, I would say honestly, I mean, if you have your Penji and you are part of Ask Penjie
This
Society,
this is what I'm
you might
talking
want to
about.
ask yourself, like, you might want to ask Penji. You might want to say, like, should I question this further? Like, is this something that I need to know about? Is this something that I need to ask about? Should I call them? Should I text them? Should I get more information? Perfect
Isn't
use.
it isn't it my highest benefit to be asking a question right now, or should I let it go? Should I?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So
I
I hope
love.
that helps a little. Like, it's
Yeah,
not a definitive.
it's hard because it's a question, my question that I asked. How do you know when to ask and when to back down? It's not a one answer. It's moment to moment. It's situation to situation. It's person to person,
Yeah.
and it's different every time.
Yes.
So
And
it's very intuition based.
yes, and as a young mom, like how I felt was I loved that you guys asked questions because I thought that was great. I thought that was a wonderful way to learn is to ask questions. And again, sometimes we don't have exact amount of time or something like that and we can say, "Hey, could we talk about it later?" Like there's a way to do it. I mean, when you're just like kind of living in relationship with people, that's how it could feel. You know what I mean?
Totally. And no one asks better questions than little kids.
Mm.
They got a
Yeah,
question a minute.
exactly.
We have to take a note out of their book.
Exactly.
Well, if you have any more to share or not, I was going to also ask you, when did you learn to be comfortable asking questions? Because I will start by saying I think you are naturally a very curious person since childhood. You're an Aquarius. You question everything. But I think a lot of people have to learn to be comfortable asking the questions, and that's what we're talking about, and everything. But for me, I feel like I was really comfortable as a kid asking questions, and then as like a teenager, I was a little more insecure. I didn't want to seem like I didn't know things. I didn't want to seem, stupid. I didn't want to bother people maybe. I didn't want to walk on eggshells. Maybe I thought with a friend if I asked a question, then they'd be like, "Oh, it's just easier, just don't come." And then like that kind of stuff. So when did you, and I feel like now I'm more comfortable asking questions for the most part. Sometimes you have to help me. But when did you learn, or are you still learning, to be comfortable asking questions?
You're actually so good at asking questions. That's a really good question. Um, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I will say that I think I've always been good at asking questions because I literally have just walked around since I'm little, and I'm going to have a t-shirt available on our store at askpenjie.com that says, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I've been saying that since I'm a little girl. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, whatever you just told me makes no sense. Whatever you just required of me or said, like that rule makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I've always been questioning sort of humanity and life, but I think I got really brave. And I always tell you this, I feel like I got some sort of superhero cape at the hospital, like when I had you guys, because I was just willing to do so many things that were uncomfortable or speak up for you guys. So like I would just I think I think I was better at doing it like for you guys than for myself even, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just got some sort of courage that I was like, there's just no reason not to ask. And you know, like I remember questioning, initially when you were little, we used to go to a pediatrician. And I used to question the pediatrician, and daddy got really nervous. Like he was like, "Oh, why are you asking him that? Like he's the doctor. Like he should know." And I was like, "No, it doesn't make any sense what he's saying to me. So I need to ask him a question to understand." And to be honest with you, the pediatrician that we had when you were really little, I liked him so much. He was so cool. He didn't want to answer any questions. He was somebody who was offended. Like he was like, "I went to school and I'm an expert and I know things." And I was like, well, you might, but I might not understand what you're doing, or I might not I'm a new mom. Like I might need to learn new things or things like that. But it was very uncomfortable. And we obviously stopped seeing him once I realized that he didn't want to answer any of our questions. To me, that's really suspicious. If somebody doesn't want to answer your question, something's off,
Yeah.
like why would they not answer,
Yeah. And most of the time it's it's not like a crazy question. Sometimes it's just like, "Oh, what's that product?" or, "Why are you doing that?" And they could just, in 10 seconds be like, "Oh, it's for this." And you could just be like, "Oh, okay." Like
But
sometimes it's not even
but
um
I think
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just gonna say that I feel like it also depends what is your lifestyle, right? Because it's like being having an intuitive lifestyle means that you're just in general thinking of what works best for you or what you need or what is good for your family or things like that. You're sort of more mindful about things. Like we're more mindful about ingredients. Some people might
Yeah.
not care about ingredients or they might not have allergies. They might be healthy. I don't know. Like maybe they just have no reason to ask, right? But we
Mhm.
always had kind of like a reason because we wanted to feel good, because we wanted to like know what we were eating. We wanted to know what we were putting on our skin, like what type of ingredient is in our makeup, like things like that. So we do have a lot of questions, but I think we also went forth like for people because, I'm meant to teach this. Like we're meant to share it with people. Not everybody is meant to do that, so hopefully they don't have to maybe do it as much as we have. We went first. And so now we
Yeah,
can sort of inspire people and empower people, to do it
definitely.
as well. But it doesn't have to be like to the extent that we did.
Definitely. We ask so many questions so that way now we can share that knowledge and experience. So that way, you know,
Yeah.
maybe in a lot of ways we were the guinea pigs. We went first.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's kind of like going down the rabbit hole. The more questions you ask, the more questions there are to ask, the more things there are
Yeah.
to understand. So it's sort of like, yeah.
And it goes from little things like you were saying, my social life to big things like, dealing with your mom, my grandma in the hospital. And the skill of being intuitive and being able to ask questions is so valuable on a little scale and a big scale because whether it's for something tiny or, something serious like someone's life or health, it's the same skill of listening to yourself and trying to be comfortable asking. So if you can get comfortable asking questions or learning on the small scale of like asking your friend, about your plans, then you're in a position to be really strong and empowered when it's a serious question that needs to be asked.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you're not always like advocating for somebody's life, but you need to become your own advocate. You need to become your own like representative for your life, for what matters to you. And we all have things that matter to us, but a lot of times we talk ourselves out of it. We ignore our intuition, we dismiss our emotions, and then we say, "Oh, well, there's no point," or
Yeah.
like you said, I don't want to bother someone, or I don't. But again, I want to remind everybody that I know we are raised and we tend to, as a society, care what other people think. I want us to learn how to care what we think, what we feel. We need to care what we think, and that's a big part of it. So yes, you're right. Like kind of asking, and sometimes your intuition is like not even asking another person, but it's asking yourself, like, "Ooh, why did I do that? Like,
Hmm.
why did I say that? So it's almost like asking yourself questions too is part of the practice. And you always want to be gentle with yourself because you don't want to say like, "Oh, you're so weird. Why did you do that?" Like you don't want to talk to yourself like that. So
I've
when you
also, I don't know if this is true for you too, but I've noticed if you're somebody who asks questions, like I just said, on the small scale or big scale, if you ask questions about life and about yourself, you're also like you just said, you're questioning yourself. So a lot of times that helps build self-awareness and like a more in tuned knowing of who you are and what you like and what you don't like and whatever. If you can't ask questions in the world, are you asking yourself any questions? Like there's a lot of people who don't question anything about life, about themselves, and then, years go by and they don't know who they are, they don't know what they like, or you know, asking questions and being curious is so important. And so many people make that really old joke quote of curiosity is what killed the cat or something. So
Mhm.
for years, people are taught don't ask questions, don't be curious, don't look behind the veil, don't, the Wizard of Oz. No, no,
Mhm.
no. But
I love that.
it's the most powerful thing you can do. And our best thinkers and poets and scientists and brilliant people in the world are questioners. They don't take anything at face value. They try to figure everything out and ask questions. And it's a game changer.
Yeah, and you just made me think about like, a lot of young people have a problem speaking up. I think it's because they were taught that it's not safe to. And I think that you have to learn to speak up about like if you get your bill for your phone and it's wrong, right? You have to be able to call the company and say, "Hi, I noticed this thing on my bill that's not, supposed to be there," or "Why is it higher?" Or like it is a skill for the success of your life. So we're talking about food and just ordering, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about handling your bills, we're talking about buying insurance, right? Say
It
you don't know how
applies
to.
to everything.
It applies to everything. And I know people would say now we actually have AI, right? So somebody
Hmm.
might type into, like AI or Google or something like, "What should I do?" or "How do I buy my insurance?" But it's not always accurate. It makes mistakes. It's not always accurate for you. It's not always accurate for your situation. And so you have to be able to even question that. And then you
For
type it into your
sure, for
question.
sure, for
So,
sure. And we're
yeah.
not telling you not to do that because, again, that's a tool that's
Mhm.
good for research. Where you can ask AI, you can ask Google, but you also should be asking yourself and going in, maybe penging it, but just feeling how you feel about each thing rather than taking it as face value. Even if it's the thing you looked up, knowing always in the back of your head, like, maybe that's not 100%, or, maybe I can still think about it, or I'll just take it with a grain of salt, that kind of thing.
And back to our quote from the beginning, just because it is doesn't mean it should be. So if you're talking to your friend and your friend says, um, you can't go shopping at Christmas, there's no parking, right?
Hmm.
Like you're not going to find parking. And you're like, well, maybe that's your experience. Like maybe that's not my
Maybe,
experience,
maybe I'm gonna manifest my parking spot.
which we always have, haven't we?
Always, always,
Always. Always. I mean,
always.
even if you have to drive a little longer, like you just know you're going to get your spot, right? And so I'm just saying that as an example, like you just don't want to take somebody's experience. And
Totally.
anybody's experience that you are listening to, it's because you trust them. It's because you can ask them questions and you can lean into the understanding of what you're talking about. So I think
Totally.
I think we've explained that a lot.
quickly, I really want you to share that story that you mentioned.
Oh, okay. I have a great story. So it's kind of funny and it's an ironic story about like somebody cooking a pot roast, and we are vegan, but I'm still going to use the story because it's fantastic. So the story is that this, and I'm just, saying it from my memory, so don't quote me. There's a young girl and she wants to make dinner for her new husband. And she pulls out a baking dish, and she puts the roast in the baking dish, and she cuts off the end and throws it in the trash. And her new husband looks at her and he's like, "What'd you do that for? Like that was really expensive. Like why are you cutting off? Was it bad? Like why?" Oh, he asked a question. Was it bad? Like, what are you doing that for? And she said, "Oh, I don't know." She's like, "That's what my mom used to do, so that's what I did, right?" So again, she blindly
Yeah.
copies her mom, copies a tradition, doesn't ask a question, right? And he says, "Well, I want to know why you're doing that." So she's like, "Oh, let me call my mom." So she calls her mom. She's like, "Hi, mom, I'm making a roast for my husband, and I cut off the end like you taught me, and I threw it in the trash, and he started asking me all these questions, and why do we do that?" And she's like, "I don't know. Call your grandma." So she calls her grandma and she's like, "Grandma," she's like, "I'm making the roast, And again, I don't remember the story verbatim, but anyway, this is my summary of it. And the grandma says to her, oh wait, she says to the grandma, she's like, "Why do we cut off the end? I just did it for my husband." And then she said, she's like, "Oh, honey," she's like, "when I was making it, I didn't have a dish big enough, so I had to cut off the end just so it would fit." And this is so funny to me because this is just an example of course, like no one's getting hurt or whatever, but when somebody new is introduced to the tradition, he's curious, like, "Why would you do that? Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know why you're doing that." And she's just saying, "I don't know. I've never questioned it." And I think there's so many things that, excuse me, generationally we do not question. We don't question, why do we do that? We don't question, why has it always been done like that? Like somebody will
Yeah,
say,
her grandma had, a pan that was too small, but her mom and her both probably had a pan that it fit, but because the grandma did it, they're still cutting it off because they're like, "Oh, this is how she made it."
they're carrying on a tradition. And I wonder if we go back, I've always thought this, if we go back to a lot of traditions and a lot of things that have been done in the past, when it's like decades later, I think we have the right to actually kind of like inquire, like, why do we do that? Like, why do we open gifts at night? Like, why not in the morning? And I think that's wonderful. I love tradition, and I love that we carry on things from generations and things like that if it feels good.
Hmm.
A lot of times these traditions don't feel good. They're outdated, they're misunderstood. We don't know why we're doing them. I think that is when it's time to kind of inquire and say, like, "I'm so curious, why do we do that? And do I want to continue doing that?" And maybe when like when somebody gets married and they have their own family, or somebody becomes a parent, they're like, "I don't want to do it like that." Or, "That's actually not good for my child. My child doesn't do well at night." So
I
I
kind
would
of want to, I don't want to throw out my roast beef. I kind of want to cook all of it.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just like, do we question authority? I say yes. Do we question um tradition? I say yes. Like, question everything. But if you do learn, to do it, like I have finessed that. Like I'm very good at that. I'm good at calling about a bill. I know how to connect with customer service. I know how to ask them how their day is going so that I can build some rapport. Like I know how to communicate with people. And I think there's so many parts to this where we need to learn how to do it. We need to understand there's a way to do it. There's a time and a place, and there's a way to do it respectfully. And I love how you said earlier, um, is it worth it? And that's a really good question to think about, or to Penjie. Say, like, is it really worth it? Or is it the right time to ask? Or like, do I really need to ask this question? Or could I figure it out on my own? Like all of that is, an intuitive decision that has to be felt. And you have to decide how it feels.
Definitely. Well, with all of that beautiful wisdom, shall we go into Crystal of the Week?
Yes, crystal of the week. Okay, so we are sharing the crystal of the week, which is clear quartz. And some of you might be familiar with this. I have a couple here, actually. This is a clear quartz. This is a clear quartz. Now, I love clear quartz. It's one of our, very first crystals that we ever learned to work with and everything like that,
Hmm.
many, many years ago. It is an amplifier, like a magnifier. So it actually can magnify your intentions, your feelings, your emotions, your energy, things like that. So it's very important what intentions you place in it.
It's
Um,
also it's a really good crystal to keep with your other crystals in like the case or wherever you keep them on your desk or in your dresser, wherever you're keeping them in your if you have crystal jewelry in your jewelry box because clear quartz acts as a purifier, so it can actually clean the energy of other crystals. Like if you have a crystal necklace or bracelet that you wear out all the time and it's absorbing energy from you, from people around you, whatever, the clear quartz can act as like a purifier to clean and release that old energy.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very, very good for healing. I'm just reading where it's saying clear quartz can be placed on all chakras or energy meridians. See, I do that like when I do Reiki healing and things like that. So we either hold a clear quartz. We actually also build grids with clear quartz. So we have actually gridded our house. We have done grids for our different rooms. I have done it for people who are in real estate and they're looking to sell or buy a home. When you build a grid like around the house, there's so many things you can do with it, but I love it. And I love actually that clear quartz corresponds with Aries. And aren't we in the energy of Aries right now?
Are. Oh my God, we didn't even plan that. That's like the
We
perfect
didn't plan that actually.
synchronicity.
Hmm.
Um, we are in Aries new moon, lots of energy. I saw a video that said we're like there's so much Aries alignment, everything. It's like the most it's been in like hundreds of years. I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that.
No,
I
I
read,
actually heard that too.
really?
There's,
Okay.
yeah, they're saying that it's like only happening once in our lifetime.
I feel like they say that every couple months they come up with a new one. They're like, this
Maybe.
planet hasn't been in retrograde in 3,000 years. I'm like, oh,
Right?
I love all of that stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's very coincidental and
So get
beautiful.
yourself, everybody who's listening, make sure you have a clear quartz in your collection. Um,
Channel that Aries energy, that fire, that purifying fire.
yes. Um, Let me see what it says actually. You know what I was going to tell you? That's interesting. Okay, I read something conflicting with what I do actually, so I'm going to share it with you guys.
Ooh, tell
It's
us.
actually saying that keeping it near your bed can cause dreams to become more vivid, and many people prefer not to have it in their bedroom because it's so high vibration. It might um it might prevent you from falling asleep. Now, here's where I want people to use their intuition. I want them to build their own unfold their own myth. Is that what Rumi said?
Hmm.
Create your own story, okay? Because things are different for different people. Use information as a guide. Decide with your intuition what's right for you. Um, I always have clear quartz in my bedroom. I always sleep. I sleep well. Do I have a weird night once in a while? Yeah, but barely. I we sleep amazing. So that is not true for me. So
Yeah.
build your own truth, unfold your own myth, tell your own story. But yeah, I don't know. And if you have a clear quartz near your bed and you feel like you're not sleeping, take it out. Try an experiment. Ask yourself, is it affecting me? Ask your Penjie. And there is actually a clear quartz on these first edition Penjies, actually, for Ask Penjie.
I
But
love it.
you can go ahead and ask, is it in my highest benefit to have a clear quartz in my bedroom? So I'm going to ask just for me. Is it in my highest benefit to have clear quartz in my bedroom? My Penjie saying yes. Again, this can be different for different people. So you have to
Mhm.
figure out for yourself what's right for you. And that's our crystal of the week.
Absolutely. I love it. Sponsored by Clear Quartz. Super good. Once again, everybody, we have a 10% off discount code in the description down below. If you want to get your own Dreamy Moons order, Dreamy Moons deck, Dreamy Moons something something, everything she has is beautiful. It is code Ask Penjie for 10% off. You can go to the link below and just click directly there or just write Ask Penjie, whatever you want to do. But thank you guys so much for joining us again for a beautiful week. and this beautiful session, this sacred space and conversation. I think this was a really good episode, and it's
Really,
such a
really
good
good.
topic. Like this has been so relevant. I mean, it's relevant always, but this is something we've been talking about a lot this week, and yeah, I really enjoyed talking about it. So it was super fun, Mama.
I loved it. I think we're finding our way and we're just kind of like learning like how to talk about things and
Mhm.
it's like every time we talk now, we're just like we've always said that actually. We're like, we should record this because it'd be like so beautiful to share with people.
Wait a
But
second, don't save it for the podcast. Save it for
yeah.
the podcast.
So I'm really glad that we're doing that now, but I just want to say that I really feel, oh, guess what? I totally lost what I was going to say. But you
No.
know what? I will tell you, if you guys want to go to askpenjie.com, that's AskPenjie.com. You can sign up to be notified of all our weekly gatherings and the things that we're doing to set up our community, which is called Ask Penjie Society, which is almost here. And sign up to find out about buying your own Penjie, actually.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Okay, cool.
exciting. We
Okay.
have so many things and so many offerings, and we can't wait to hear from you and connect with all of you guys. And we're so glad you found us. Welcome. It's so great to meet you. And we'll see you next week on Mystic Like My Mama.
Bye.